Hey Hooper! Today, we're going to talk about waist hooping. Let's get started. The most important consideration when you're first learning how to waist hoop is getting a hoop that's the right size for you. So don't go with a store-bought small children's hoop because you're going to have a really hard time. You want a hoop, as a good rule of thumb, that when standing on the ground reaches at least to your belly button. Now, I like really big hoops, so mine reaches above my belly button, but the good rule of thumb is to at least start there. There are a range of different materials that you can purchase a hoop in. I would recommend if you're first starting out and you're wanting to do a lot of on-body, like waist, chest hooping, that you start with a dance weight hoop or a fitness weight hoop. This guy is a fitness weight hoop. It's easier to teach with the fitness weight hoop because it moves much slower. So the heavier your hoop is, the slower the rotation's going to be, so the easier it is going to be to keep it up and learn it, because gravity is a beast. The second most important thing to think about when you're first learning how to waist hoop is your posture. So you want to make sure that you have a nice, tall posture, and you're going to envision that there's a string going from the top of your head all the way down to your feet. So you don't want to have your booty out, you don't want to have your chest out, you don't want to lean forward or get all mushy. Just a nice, long, strong string. And then you want to bend your knees a little bit, not too much, but enough to just soften it up and allow your body to do the movement that's necessary to keep a hoop up. Now, just go ahead and work with me on a movement, pulsing from behind the belly button. Back and forth. This is the movement that you want to keep in mind while you're waist hooping, because this is where your hoop's going to connect. So anytime you're hooping on body, you want to be thinking about moving the body parts that are going to be connecting with your hoop. So if you're wanting to waist hoop, you don't want to be moving your chest, and you don't want to be moving your knees, because that's not where the hoop is connecting. It's connecting on your waist, usually just behind the belly button. So that's where you want to isolate your movement. When you're hooping, the hoop can move in either direction. So it can spin to the right, or it can spin to the left. Generally speaking, everybody has a dominant side. A good rule of thumb is if you're right-handed, naturally you'll hoop to the left. And if you're left-handed, naturally you're going to hoop to the right. Now, this is just a rule of thumb, and it may not be true for you. I'm actually right-handed, but I naturally also hoop to the right instead of to the left. When you first start, hold your hoop out in front of you. Depending on which way you feel more comfortable with, you're going to go ahead and give your hoop one nice solid push, and just let it come into contact with your waist for those few rotations that your hoop can stay up on its own, so you can understand where it's contacting you as it's revolving around your body. You should do this both ways, just kind of get used to the feeling, and this will help you know which way your body will naturally want to keep the hoop going. So once you've done that and you understand where the general contact is going to be, go ahead and give your hoop a nice solid straight push. And every time that hoop makes contact, pulse, 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 pulse. Now there's a few stances you can take while you're doing this. You can spread your legs and kind of go back and forth. In this case, my hoop is hitting kind of on my obliques rather than behind my belly button, and that's where I'm pushing from. Or you can put one foot in front of the other and rock kind of back and forth on your feet, in which case my hoop is completely pulsing from behind my belly button. If you want to get very difficult, you can stand with your feet completely together in a circus pose. This makes it much more difficult to keep the hoop up, so you might want to work in the other two poses first before you start this, or if you're feeling really great, go ahead and go for it. I make this look easy, but it wasn't always this easy. So it's really important that you have a lot of patience when you're first starting out. You might only be able to do 4 or 5 revolutions of the hoop, but I promise, if you remember your nice straight solid string all the way to the floor, you remember to keep your knees nice and soft, and you remember to only be moving the places that your hoop is contacting, you will get stronger and you will get better at it. As you get better, maybe you'll get a little more adventurous. Go ahead and stop that hoop, send it back the other way. Now, like I said in the beginning, gravity is a bear. So inevitably, sometimes our hoop starts to drop. So what do you do when the hoop drops? Move faster, push harder, and it'll come back up. The other thing you can do, I like to call a squiggle. So my hoop is dropping. I'm gonna squat and wiggle my hoop back up. So try both of those options to keep your hoop back up if it starts to drop. See which one feels more comfortable to you, or maybe both feel comfortable. It kind of depends on what I'm doing, on what's easier for me to bring my hoop back up. Now, you might also find it easier when you're learning to hoop to spin in the same direction that your hoop is spinning in. This is easier because it essentially helps slow the hoop down, so it's a nice, easy rotation around your body. And as you're spinning, you're helping keep that momentum going. If this isn't easier for you, that's okay. Bring it back and just do it standing still until you feel really good about spinning. If spinning is easier for you, go ahead and spin. And then practice standing still. Okay, Hooper, that was a basic introduction to waist hooping. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, happy hooping.